Garden Express is leading mail ordering service, offering a wide range of quality gardening products. Each week on the Garden Gurus Live, the team at Garden Express will share a weekly offer. So make sure after today's show, you jump online and visit their website.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Garden Gurus Live. I'm Trevor Cochrane. This morning, Holly is driving this huge operation that we have going here, and I'll be answering your garden questions. We've got a heap of questions to answer. Some quite big challenges there too. Hey, it's great everybody joining us, and there's so many good friends who have tuned in. I'm going to say Vinette, Troy, Lynn Winstanley. Hello, all of you guys. It's great to have you with us. I am, of course, here to answer your questions. We are going to have a fantastic prize for the best question of the day. It's a $50 gift voucher with our friends at Garden Express. We are going to catch up with Rowan a little bit later on. I'm reading through some notes actually, and very important. The most important one, I think, is Holly's note to mention that it's her birthday next Wednesday. Never misses an opportunity, does our Holly? We'll say happy birthday next Wednesday, won't we? Let's have a quick look at the weather. It is going to be wet everywhere. It has been incredibly wet here in Western Australia. I was quite blown away actually with the amount of water we've had in the last few days. I'm estimating we've probably had 60 mils where I am, which is fantastic because I think we'd had 6 mils in 6 months prior to that. So the garden is suddenly looking like it is happy again. And I'm sure that you're seeing that yourself in your own backyard. Perth today actually is going to have a maximum of 22 degrees, but there is a lot of rain coming. In fact, Sunday, I think anything up to maybe 60 mils on Sunday alone in the west. Adelaide, a maximum of 17 today, a little bit on the cold side. It's raining. Melbourne, 17, partly cloudy. We'll ask Rowan about that in a minute. Hobart, showers, windy, and a max of 16. Sounds really cold. Speaking of cold, showers and 16 in Canberra. Sydney, a max of 22 degrees. I was in Sydney last week. Weather wasn't that bad, but you do have showers increasing. Brisbane showers, 25, and Darwin, just for something different, sunny and a max of 33. Of course, we are in winter. We are coming into winter now pretty solidly, and you would expect that with the change of season, all sorts of new and interesting things are coming along. And speaking of coming along, here comes Rowan Peterson from Garden Express. Good morning, Rowan.
Morning, Trevor. Morning, everyone.
How's the weather in sunny Melbourne?
It actually is quite nice today. The sun's out. There's blue skies. Just looking out my window, it's all blue out there. It's been bitterly cold, but it's not so bad today. Quite mild. I think maybe 17. I think is the forecast.
Well, you do get true seasons in Melbourne. And that's the great thing about it is so you've had a true autumn. I know right back in March, trees were starting to colour. Yeah. And now most of those leaves would be on the ground, I would imagine, and turning into what we call leaf mould or bloody good compost, as I like to refer to it.
I actually laughed about this. The other weekend, I came in for a little bit to do some work, and Dave was actually out there with the blower on his back, blowing all the leaves off the car park, as you know. Came in on Monday, all back again.
Yeah. Yeah. Can be a bit disheartening when that occurs.
Yeah, mate, it's so good, but all back again on Monday.
It is a change of the season, and a lot of people, hang up their boots this time of the year and say, well, winter's here, we'll let the garden do its own thing. But there are so many different things that you should be doing as far as gardening goes this time of the year. Soil improvement's always a really important one. So we're just talking about leaves and leaf litter, and instead of putting that into bags and sending it off to the tip or green waste or whatever you're going to do with it, put it into the compost heap or even just spread it over garden beds. It's really good stuff. And one of the things that's really important is planting of deciduous trees. And, we just talked about Melbourne's got a true season, a true winter. So things are completely dormant there, including the roses. And we've talked about roses.
Yeah. So we're probably 2 to 3 weeks into our bare root rose season. Reason why we have a bare root rose season is obviously the plants have gone into their dormancy. It's just a much easier way to ship around the country, and obviously less stress on the plant when we do so. So yeah, we've got, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think we've got about 200 varieties of different bare root roses online at the moment, and another 25 to 30 that'll come on a little bit later. And that's things from climbing roses. We've got floribundas, we've got David Austins, we've got, miniatures, hybrid teas, Delbarts. Probably one of the largest, if not the largest, range of roses in the country.
That's fantastic. Well, some of the highlights for me, probably through particularly the spring, were the Pierre de Ronsards, and it comes as that beautiful, almost burgundy red, but there is a full-blown burgundy version of it these days, and a white or a cream sort of colour. There's a lot of variety there. Yeah,
I think we also have a climber in that one as well. So you can get the standard bush rose, but you can also get a nice climbing rose for over an arch or a trellis or something like that. They're all online at the moment. My favourites at the moment are probably the David Austins or the Perfumer. They have that, I don't know how to explain it, but the shape of the bloom is just amazing, and a lot of them have some incredible fragrances as well.
They're a very complex bloom, and depending on the variety, they can be quite dazzling. But it's with the David Austins, it is always that fragrance, and that's we talked the last time we caught up about roses and fragrance, but those roses from Anthony Tesla too. It's another one that grows on its own roots and has the most exquisite fragrance.
Yeah, the showpiece ones. We've actually got those, and we've actually been able to, I don't know if we touched on this last time we spoke, but we've been able to get hold of some that were potted up for the season that didn't happen to sell. So we've gone into their dormancy, we've bagged them up, and we've got a really huge saving on those. Okay. I think we normally sell those ones bare root for around about $22, and we got them down to $17.90 for those. But there's 5 beautiful colours in that range.
Yep.
Including that really vivid orange. I don't know if anyone's seen that one, but it's quite amazing. So we bundled them all up into a pack of 5 roses, all the colours, for $79. And from memory, that's about $115 worth of value.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, there's certainly one. You're bare rooted. Obviously, now's the time to. The reason people would want to get them like this is because you do make a huge saving on buying them as potted plants, and that's why there's a bare rooted rose season. Many years ago, in a past life, I for a period of time was the state garden buyer for Kmart and Coles. Yep. And then years after that, worked with the very early stages of the setup of Bunnings Warehouse. And it always blew me away with the volume of bare-rooted roses. Pretty much the second week of May, there would be hundreds of thousands of roses going into their stores. Yep. The doesn't feel like the traditional retailers, the bricks and mortar retailers these days, have quite the same range. And I suppose the great benefit with getting them with you guys is that because you're not really you don't have to have 50 stores and you're not paying rose rentals, etc. You're able to dig them in the field, bring them in, pack them, have a huge range, and then deliver them direct to people's doorsteps. The convenience of doing that and shopping for it all online is a real convenience, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And like you say, the range that we're able to put out there into the marketplace is far greater than what an average retailer is being able to do. I know that the likes of Big W and those types of stores used to have bare root roses this time of year, but a very small selection of them. And I happen to know that they've stopped doing it. The Big W was a large one that used to do bare root roses, and they've just dropped the garden department and dropped the bare root roses as a result of that. So obviously Bunnings, but we've just got, like I said, I think it's a little bit over 200 varieties available online right now. Colours, variety, shapes, the whole work. So yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Jeanette Fenton has asked us, is there a special name for the rose flowers where the petals are more pointed looking? Now I'm thinking more pointed looking. I could be thinking that you're referring to hybrid tea roses, which are the more upright ones and the single stems. But the petals are not necessarily more pointed looking. The buds definitely are. There is no doubt about it. What do you think, Ryan? Is there anything I'm missing here?
Look, I would have said hybrid tea too, in terms of the petal being a little bit more pointed on average. But there's a lot of different hybrid teas out there as well. I'm not exactly sure, Jeanette, and what you're talking about, but hybrid teas definitely have that classic rose shape with the pointed petals.
Well, I suppose if they're jumping online to gardenexpress.com.au, you can at least look at all the flowers, because you're going to have a picture of every single rose, right?
Absolutely, yeah, they're all on there at the moment, categorised into the main categories. So making it as easy as possible for somebody to find what it is they're after. And like I said, 200 plus varieties on there now to have a look at. So even if you're not interested in buying the roses, it's worth a look just to have a look at what's out there.
Yeah. Rowan, just moving away from roses, and obviously very soon you're going to have bare-rooted fruit trees as well, and probably even some deciduous ornamentals, I'd imagine. But right at the moment, the other big thing that people should be doing is putting in native plants. So, but particularly, if you can get them nice and small and tube stock ideally, they will establish through the winter months. But now's the time to plant them, because if you're putting them in as we're going into drier conditions, more often than not, you'll have a lot of fatalities. You put them in now and they'll handle the summer quite well. Have you got anything in that space at present?
We do, yeah, we do. We're about to. So once I finish up here, we'll be putting a whole range of natives online, and that's like you say, there'll be some tube stock amongst that, but there'll also be a really large range of 140 ml pots, so just a little bit bigger, so you're getting a little bit of instant gratification in your garden. There's some that will be flowering through winter, but obviously the majority of those will start flowering in spring. So we've got things like acacia, banksia, callistemon, what else? Kangaroo paws. We've got grevilleas, some eucalypts, coria, isopagons, and we've got 5 or 6 tuckerbush. So things like lemon myrtle, aniseed myrtle, saltbush, and those types of plants.
They're all the trend at the moment, folks. Make sure you get your hands on those. They won't last long. And
we've never actually had them online before, so this will be the first time that we've had such a good. We've had 1 or 2, but never a range. So I think just looking at the paper here, six different tuckerbush plants, which is great. Very exciting.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, listen, no, I think what we'll do is we'll suggest to people. There's actually a lot of questions coming through on roses at the moment. Wendy Brown, do Garden Express have thornless roses? There's a few of those. What I'd suggest people do is just jump online and just check out the range. Obviously 200 different varieties. There's a lot to take in and a lot to consider, and probably a lot of variety there as well. But what I would say is, because we're running out of time, if people want to get their hands on these native plants, it's going to be up. Is it later today? Is it towards the afternoon?
So probably early afternoon. All the categories and stuff will be up.
Okay.
Anybody that's a part of our email subscription, email will go out this afternoon, allowing you to jump on. But there's some small numbers of things, and there's some larger numbers of some as well. We may well be able to restock throughout the next couple of weeks, but sometimes we can't. Some standouts for me: Banksia Menzies, which is a WA Banksia. It's just amazing. Yeah. You're probably not so excited because you can see it all along the side of the roads.
So when you head north of WA and you get into the Midwest, just past Geraldton, you really get into that country where Menzies is a species. It is just spectacular when it's in flower, and it's a real late winter, early spring delight. It really is just magnificent.
And we've got some dwarf ones of those as part of this,
awesome.
This promotion as well. So get in quick, guys.
Could I also ask, because I'm trying to squeeze a lot into our time, Rowan,
Sure.
and excuse me for pushing on that, but I've just been digging out. It triggers rainfall whenever I go to dig out the dam. So our dam was quite silted up. And so I wanted to dig that silt out because I want to use that in the veggie patch actually through the winter and enrich the soils.
Yeah.
And so we start digging, and of course it starts raining, and we're pumping water whilst we're trying to dig it out. But one of the things that is a real highlight around the outside edge of the dam, Xanthorrhoea lilies.
Yeah.
So there's you had a fantastic range of them. Do you still have them in stock?
We do have some. So calla lilies for
Calla
people
lilies.
that maybe don't know that that's the name for them. We had them on the show last week. We've still got. I'm just going to quickly jump onto the category just in case I'm telling people the wrong thing. But yeah, we do have some of those collections. There's not too many left, but we've got some of the collections that we had on available last week. So that was a collection of 3 different colours. Normally $47.70 down to $35, so save 20% on those.
Yeah.
And we've also got a 5-pack of mixed colours. So you might get a purple, a white, a pink, that a 5-pack of those for $50. It's $70 worth of value. So yeah. Really,
well, really interesting with those. The one that is far more advanced than any of the others for me is that deep purple, almost black flower, and it's when you put it into a vase, it's a rock star. It looks amazing.
That's the beautiful thing about a calla lily too. So you're going to get that longevity in the bloom itself. We put it in a vase; it's going to last for quite some time. We've actually got one at the moment called Nightclub, which is that deep burgundy black with that really nice green spotted foliage. I don't know if it can come up in the vision there, but
beautiful.
Yeah,
Holly's got some lovely shots coming up just for those people that are not sure what we're talking about. These are calla lilies or Xandertesia lilies, depending on where you've come from, and they are magnificent.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely stunning.
The important thing here, I think, is that when it's cold and wet and you don't really feel like going outside, you can still garden, because you can jump online to gardenexpress.com.au and shop through the collections and then get them delivered direct to the door, and of course plant them when the weather's right.
Yeah, that's right. And coming into winter, we're talking about water plants real quick. We've got some Japanese iris coming up. We've got some water lilies coming up for those people that do have water features. They'll be coming on in the next week, or probably a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, look, I think we're probably going to have a break next week, but when we will come back, I think we'll do a couple of little winter shows, and we'll get you on to have a little chat about that side of things, because it's a strange thing to think about, but it's actually the perfect time to get your water garden into shape. So yeah, good advice. Rowan, thanks for joining us this morning, mate. We covered a lot of ground this morning. There's a lot of things people can still be doing.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's always a pleasure. We'll catch up with you when you're back on air.
No worries. I've got a lot of questions, so I better get on with it. That's Rowan. He is just a sensational guy. That is a wonderful family business, and as I said, there's nothing more convenient than being able to shop online when you want, and of course get it delivered direct to your doorstep. gardenexpress.com.au. They support this show every week, and we love supporting them back. Now, Tegan Bathgate, you have sent us some photos. She's got a lily-pilly hedge. There's 70-odd plants. It's a variety called Resilience. You're in central eastern Queensland. The soil's subtropical. The climate's subtropical, and the soil's a black, rich soil, and you're getting 500 to 600 mils of rainfall. Look at this. Now, this is a classic case. You've given us a lot of information, and thank you for that. But there is a really obvious problem here. Now, this is something that's not commonly seen, but these are borers that are causing the damage on the stems of this plant. You can see bark cracking. You can see the sap's been bleeding. They're not happy, and you're going to need to use a systemic insecticide to get control of that. You need something to move through the sap to stop that sort of damage occurring. Very, very interesting. Now, I think the solution really is just to make sure you do that, and you'll be fine. Now, I'm going to keep rolling along because we have got so many questions, and Holly is scrolling like crazy. Lisa Trajsevsky, I hope I got that right, Lisa. I'm really sorry about that. Hello, just wanted to know, what was the lavender call that you had on the show about a month ago? Actually, we had a whole bunch of beautiful lavenders. They're all a result of the Bloomin orange breeding. And if you wanted, the best way to get all this sort of information is to grab the fact sheet, because there were a few actually. Grab the fact sheet from our website. That is thegardengurus.com. And all you have to do is simply go to lavender, and you will see the last lot of lavender that we talked about will pop up. You can print off the fact sheet, you can watch the story. It's a great resource, Lisa, so hopefully that helps. John May has asked, should I be placing clear bags over my lemon tree about 1 metre tall to protect it from frost? You're in Maitland and it does get chilly and you do get frosts. And yeah, you know what? I don't think it would hurt to put some kind of protection around the outside. Now, you can do a plastic bag. Garden Express sells some really wonderful winter protection stuff for plants, including some frames that are really good as well. So that's one way to go. Let's keep rolling along. Cheryl sent us some photos, and this one's concerning. Hello, garden gurus. I'm just wondering if you tell me why my conifers are dying. Take a look at these photos, and you can see them. They're dying back. Now, that is actually a disease, I'm pretty sure. It's triggered by dry conditions. It's a fungal disease, and once it's sort of into one, it'll spread from one to the other. And that really is more a sign that these plants are stressed. The bad news is you're not going to recover these plants. They are going to die. You can look, I've tried it myself. You can spray them, you can prune the stuff out, but they are going to, they're never going to be the same. They're going to struggle thereafter. Sorry about that. That's not great news, I know. Gillian Fengler. Hello, Gillian. Question answered last week, but sent a message saying she missed it. So if we can answer again this week, let's have a look. Watch a show each morning. I have a Japanese maple in a large pot. It's doing really well. It's 2 years old. Being autumn, it's lost all its leaves. I'm wondering, do I need to prune it to keep it its weeping shape, or just leave it alone? And is there a particular fertilizer I should give it? And the answer is no, you don't need to prune it, because if it's a weeping Japanese maple, then, well, we've still got our conifer there. If it's a weeping Japanese maple, it'll be grafted, and its natural habit will be to weep down. So that's the first thing. Just leave it alone. They'll do their own thing. That's okay. And feeding. Anything that's deciduous, really now we've crossed that line. There's no point in feeding them at all, because all they're doing is going into a dormancy, and they're going to rest during the winter months. Come springtime, you'll start to see the emergence of new buds, and that's the time when you can put a bit of fertilizer into the soil. And of course, that just helps the plant power away as the weather warms up. So I hope that helps. Lynn Winstanley's in Claremont. Hello, Lynn. Is it too late to apply black magic to my gardenias, please? You know what? It's a really good question, because gardenias, believe it or not, are starting to grow away a little bit, and they'll have a little spurt of growth, and you can support it with a bit of fertilizer. Black magic is a particular type of fertilizer originally designed for roses over here in Western Australia. It won't hurt to apply some right now, Lynn. Now, look, before we move on, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I want to see who knows what it is, because it's my plant of the week. I've actually got two of them, but I wanted to show you this one. Does anybody know what that plant is? And you can see its root system there. It's got a new little shoot coming up, and if you look off the base of those there, you'll see there's lots of little shoots coming out there. This is actually going to go into dormancy. This is what they call a herbaceous perennial. It basically sleeps through the winter and it grows back up from this root system. Now they are what they call rhizomes. Okay, so rhizomes, a modified root system with growth buds that come off that. This particular plant has rhizomes and tubers. Let me show you the tuber. That's the tuber. See it there? Really interesting. And when you clean it and prepare it, that's what it looks like. Okay, you can see Holly's already eaten half of it. It's unbelievable. So I've got a prize for you. It is a bottle of this stuff. It is Power Feed. We will send that to you. If you can get the name right. If you can tell me what the name of that plant is. It's not a Jerusalem artichoke. I'm going to say that bit. And I think already I can tell you that Marcia Blake has got the answer.
No, Lorna Thompson.
Oh, Lorna's. Oh, of course it is. Lorna Thompson. Hello, Lorna. If anybody's going to know it, it's Lorna. And this is my other plant of the week, by the way. I'll talk to you about that a bit later on. Could you do us a favour? Right now, could you press like and share this with your friends? We want to build our numbers up of people that are watching. And that's the best way to do it. So your support in doing that is very much appreciated. And I am just working my way through at the moment, having a look at the total number of viewers. We've got a lot of people tuned in. Just as a matter of interest, we're just about to cross the 100,000 mark with people. It's hard to believe that we've got that many followers of the Garden Gurus. Thank you so much for your support and for joining us again today, which is great. Now, so congratulations, Lorna. You're going to get a bottle in the mail all the way down to Albany. Now, let's keep rolling along. Sorry, just to clarify what it is Yarkon. Yarkon is also known, its sort of translation in Peruvian is ground apple. It tastes, have a look at this, right? It tastes, so you think you cook it. The first thing that Holly sort of did when she saw it was, it's a sweet potato, and it does look when it's clean like it's a sweet potato. But this is one that you don't cook. You eat it fresh, and if you were to cook it, the interesting thing about it is that it turns black into like a black syrup, and it stores really well. So you can actually enjoy that on a regular basis. Why would you eat it? That's a good question. The reason you'd eat it is because it has a particular type of fiber in it that's not soluble. It doesn't, not soluble. It doesn't break down very quickly, and it has a sugar in there, what they call a polysaccharide, which is a non dissolvable sugar. It does not take it into your bloodstream. And so it helps bring your blood sugar levels down, and the fiber, it binds with other sugars and takes them out of your system before you absorb them, which is really good for if you're trying to lose weight. The second element to that is the fiber is incredibly good for gut health. So it kind of stays in your gut, and it's really good for your general health. So it's a fabulous plant to be growing in the garden. Now it's not necessarily the time to be planting new plants, but it is the time to be propagating it. So again, you can grow it from cuttings. So up here, stem cuttings are fine. You can break off parts, and I'll just show you what I would have done. I would take that and broken it away from the root system, and I'd pop that into a little pot, a little peat pot. I'm going to give one to Holly, and she's going to take it because she loves eating this plant. And then you can see, where are those? See those little nodes that are all around the outside here? These are all going to be new plants. So I would cut that there, and you'll end up with this big cluster of new plants come springtime, when it'll start to emerge again from the soil. But the big thing about this, and the thing that's made it so popular, is that it is in a fresh form and also in a liquid form, incredibly good for helping people lose weight. So you lose about 1 kilo a month if you're taking about 60 grams a day. To put that into context, that's probably 180 grams, I'm going to say. So it's about 3 days worth of intake there. And just as far as the taste goes, it's called ground apple. It's kind of like a cross between a pear and an apple in its crunchy, sweet texture. And yeah, as I said, it's kind of sweet and juicy. I find it quite pleasant. I've been giving Holly a hard time because she didn't necessarily enjoy it, but I think it's one of those things. It is probably a little bit of an acquired taste, but once you get used to it, it's a really refreshing snack. And as I said, incredibly good for you. So something you should be looking at adding into your garden if you can. We might have a talk to Rowan and see whether the guys at Garden Express might be able to get some plants from somewhere in the world. I don't know. They're not common. And I should say, the reason you don't find this in supermarkets, etc., is because it doesn't store super well. So you basically, unless you're going to process it into a liquid or freeze it, it will not store. So you won't find it in fresh produce outlets. So it's really quite a different thing. It's how it comes out of the ground, and when it's been given a bit of a scrub under the tap, that's what it kind of looks like. And it's called Yarkon. I know you're all going to ask that question. The Peruvian ground apple. Okay. Shall we keep moving on? I think we probably should. And Holly asked a good question. She said, tell me, does it, because it's a member of the sunflower family, does it have a sunflower flower? And the answer is, of course, yes, it does, but big clusters of them. So, bract of maybe 20 or 30 flowers this big, all little tiny flowerlets, but they're all little sunflowers. So really quite a cute plant to have. Grows well in pots, grows well on the ground. This time is the time of the year to, one, harvest, and two, is to propagate. So that's why I brought it up with you. Hope you liked that. That's a little bit different. Big hello to our friends at the Kalamunda Garden Festival. They've got a show coming up, I think tomorrow. And it's going to be a big one. I think they're getting in just before all the wet weather arrives. So perfect for somebody to go and buy some plants, pop them into the ground and let the rains do all the watering for you. Oh my goodness, we've got so many questions. Marcia Blake, I've got a bunch of watermelon seedlings popping up with this crazy weather fluctuations. She's in Harvey and it's been a lot warmer here in Perth, a lot later than it normally would be. And what happens is a lot of plants get confused. So there's a lot of tomatoes germinating. There's a lot of watermelons and cucumbers and things that just shouldn't be popping up at the moment that are actually germinating, and they're not going to make it through the winter months. They will die off unless you can protect them. And even that's going to be hard because it's the cold that they don't like. And particularly Harvey can get quite frosty and chilly. So I'm not sure they're going to make it, but you can try and protect them. Plastic bags over the top, see how you go. Irene Fraser, you are in Bundaberg, southeast, subtropical Queensland, beautiful part of the world. I've got a Banksia Red Rover. It is 4 years old. It's grown about 2 meters, but has never flowered, and the tips very sometimes die off. Just a centimeter or so. Is there anything I can do to promote flowering? So you got a little tip borer or weevil. It is in the growing tips. It lives almost in a symbiotic relationship with the plant. It encourages the plant to keep bushing out as a consequence of that sort of damage. It won't affect the flower. You're asking about whether you should be fertilizing to encourage flowering. And I would actually suggest to you, not often I tell you don't feed a plant, but don't feed it. Banksias are best when they're young and you're trying to get good shape in the plant. Feed them for sure. But when they're a bit older and you want them to flower, don't feed them. It's completely the opposite to what I'd normally tell you with most other exotic plants, but Banksias in particular don't appreciate it. So let it do its own thing. I think you'll probably find it's just been that it's actually very happy and it didn't need to reproduce. But as the soil dries and as nutrients run out, there's a little alarm bell that just triggers off in that plant and it says, I better start producing flowers because I need to produce offspring. And it's quite a natural process that will occur. So it'll come into flower. Just be patient. All right, let's have a bit of a look at the next question. Mark Shelsey. Hello, Mark. You're from Mudgee in New South Wales. My huge golden elm was decimated by elm beetle this year and lost all its leaves 2 months before it should have. Is there anything I can do to track down and prevent getting smashed? You know what? Elm beetle is a disaster. It has wiped out elm trees all through Europe. It seems to be doing some damage now to the populations in Australia, which is a tragedy. I don't know what you can really do with that. I probably need to do a little bit more research, and I might ask somebody who's probably a bit better qualified to talk about it. Certainly elms are not a big part of my landscape at home, and certainly we don't see them. We have some other issues over here in the west with beetles that are causing terrible damage, but not the elm beetle. It is a tragedy when you see these beetles and they get in and they decimate trees. For it to have dropped all its leaves, it's gone into significant shock. And I'd hate to say it, Mark, but I suspect that it may not come back come springtime. There's very little you can do. The good thing is if you get a really cold winter, it will knock the elm beetle down a little bit. But yeah, I'm not sure what the long-term solution is, short of some kind of systemic treatment that might be of some use. I will do some research. Let me look into it. Wendy Goss, hello, you're in Blakeview in South Australia. I've got a fully grown cocos palm, about 4 meters tall. It's on the lean. Okay, it's close to your house. Is there any way to get it upright again? You don't want to lose it. Simplest thing to do is to put a star picket on the side, on the opposite side to the lean, and get one of those snatch straps. So those straps they use on trucks, and you strap it around carefully around the trunk, and then you hook it to the star picket, which is on that side on a 45-degree angle, and you tighten the strap, and it'll pull the palm back. Now, don't try and do it all in one hit. Maybe correct it. If it's quite a lean, correct it maybe 75%, and then leave it and let it just sit. And I would get some sea salt, and I would just soak the soil around the base of it with some sea salt and just let it recover from any sort of root damage that'll occur. And then in about 2 months' time, I would get it perfectly straight. Again, just tightening that snatch strap. You should be able to, after probably 6 months or so, take the strap away and the palm will be upright, because it'll produce new roots in the spaces where there's a gap. And that's really what's gone wrong there. It's leaning because it's got a shortage of roots on one side. This will correct that. It will regrow them. And then at that point, it should stay upright by itself without any further problems. Hopefully that helps. Alina Fletcher, hello. How do you fix curly leaf on lemon trees? All right, it's our first lemon tree question for the day. And it's a good one. Obviously, this is a little moth called citrus leaf miner. Treating it right at the moment is probably pointless. The cold weather, one, affects populations of the moth, and two, it's so wet, the treatment, which is spraying over the new foliage as it emerges with white oil or eco oil or pest oil or one of those horticultural oils, is the best solution, but it's going to wash off if you've got a lot of rain. So pick a week where there's dry conditions, look for new growth and spray over the top of the plant, and that will stop the new leaves being damaged, which stops the curling in the leaves that you're seeing. Fiona Donachie is in Perth. Hello, my blueberry burst leaves are all going brown. What to do? It's in a pot, sheltered. All right, take it out, put it in a nice big open spot. You want it getting as much rainfall on it at the moment as it can. You want it to be exposed to cold weather, really good for blueberries. We want that rainfall. The browning is more likely caused by a lack of moisture than anything else. Okay, let's keep rolling along. There's so many questions coming through. Okay, Margaret Campion. Hello, Margaret. By the way, you won last week, didn't you, with Darren? That's great. Well done. My over 50-year-old tree fern. Oh, wow. With an azalea bush growing on the trunk. You've told me about this before, Margaret. And the azalea is about 15 years old. Can I prune it so it doesn't get too top heavy and you lose it? And the answer is, yeah, sure you can, but don't do it now. Your azalea is about to come into flower. I can see some flowers there. Let it flower, and then when it's finished flowering, prune the azalea back. That looks incredible. That'll be a great display. I can see you've got ornamental ginger in the background as well. Looks great. Love photos of your gardens. Thanks for sharing that, Margaret. That's brilliant. Marinko Jezebek, hello. I saw a program on edible sapphire plants. I think it's samphire that you're talking about. I would like to know where to buy this. Now, this is where you should let us know where you're from. Really important, Marinko, because I don't know where you are from, so therefore I'm not sure who your local retailer will be. But look, Bunnings have a great range of edible water plants, and samphire is actually a water plant. It actually grows on the edge of riverbeds and so on. It's very good at taking up salt out of the water, and that gives it that salty, crunchy flavour that you'll often find when you're using samphire. You're eating meals with samphire in them. So yeah, you will buy them. They're out there. Absolutely. Samphire. That's what you're looking for. Marg Rainsbury's in Toowoomba, Queensland. We are all over the place this week, aren't we? We've got Celtis trees dropping black sooty type residue, affecting large areas of the garden. How can we stop it? All right, so let's get some Vaseline out, and around the base of the tree, you need to do probably about that much, a big long circle of Vaseline to stop ants going up, because the ants are farming scale inside on the foliage of the tree, and that scale is and a consequence of that is feeding the ants back with something called honeydew. And the honeydew residue of that's being moved around by the ants. And the black sooty mold that you're seeing growing is growing on that sugary substance. So what you've got to do is you've got to get rid of the black sooty mold. That's the key. Now, the good news is, and it is good news, is that if you can stop the ants going up and you can spray the tree for scale, you are going to stop the sooty mold. It will just literally run out of energy or run out of food and it'll disappear. So yeah, it's one of those things. You really want to stop the ants getting up into the tree. That's the first thing, Marg. I hope that helps. You should be in sort of drier conditions. So treating for scale with something like white oil or pest oil or eco oil or one of those horticultural oils is a good way to go. Marsha Blake made the point. If you live in Western Australia and you down on the edge of the Canning River or you're down in Australind, you'll see samphire growing right along the edges of it. The Mandurah estuaries, you'll see it. It's a very common ancient plant and it is incredibly hardy. So you can grow it at home. Just remember, it is a water plant, so you can keep it quite quite wet. The feet can be quite wet, no problems. Adrian Edwards, all right, let's have a look at this photo. Nice feet, by the way, Adrian. We've got your left foot in that shot. That's fantastic. You've got scale, white scale all over your fig tree. And the best thing to do is grab a bag and a plastic bag, pull all those leaves off because they're going to fall off anyway, pop them into the plastic bag, tie the top of it and pop the leaves into the bin, I think is probably, or into a fire and burn them off, because basically that scale will come back next year. You probably, when you get the new foliage starting to emerge in the springtime, because figs are deciduous trees, but when you get that, what you'll do is you give it another spray with white oil, and that'll just kill off any of the babies that might re-emerge, might be on the stems of the branches of the plant itself. King Liao, hello King. King's in Perth and he's got leaf hoppers back in the veggie patch. Lettuce have self-seeded this year. That's a really good sign of perfectly healthy soil, is when plants start self-seeding and year in, year out, they start popping up. One of the things that occurs when they grow in the same spot that they were the year before is a lot of the good nutrients that whatever the plant is, lettuce or tomatoes, use, they take it all out of the soil. So the new plant, when it comes in, doesn't have that supply of nutrients. So you need to be really conscious of the fact that you have to treat it. You actually have to make sure that you're improving the mineral content in the soil. Otherwise, they're very soft. And that's where the leaf hoppers come in. So they're looking for an easy meal, something soft, succulent, delicious, and easy to get to. If they're big, tough, solid leaves, they might have a bite, they might eat around the edges, but they won't eat a lot of it. But when they're soft and really sort of succulent, then they'll do quite a lot of damage. I would suggest that's what's happened here, mate. So first thing, feeding. Lettuce, very fast growing plant. Liquid plant food, I'm going to suggest you Thrive, okay? I don't often recommend Thrive. It's very high nitrogen, but that's exactly what lettuce want, because you want lots and lots of nitrogen for that foliage development. Second thing is to get control of the leaf hoppers. You could use any one of the chewing sprays that are available at your local garden centre. You could even dust a little bit with sulphur dust. It doesn't necessarily kill them, but it certainly makes them, they don't like the taste of it and they move on. We have got 15 minutes to go. This is your chance to get your questions in. We are going to take a break next week, so might be worthwhile rushing those in now. John May has done that. Let's have a look. John, have you ever grown a mandarin tree from seeds out of a shot fruit, or is it sterile? And the answer to that is you can grow them. But of course, like all things, two different parents, right? So what you get may not be true to the fruit that you ate. In other words, the seed may be quite a different plant. And the other thing that often happens with citrus is you'll grow it from seed and it takes a long time to get the plant going. But what's really, really difficult is that you really struggle when it comes to getting them to actually produce fruit. It can take up to 7 years. So I think you're probably better to go and pick a true variety, because if you waited 7 years and you got something that wasn't that appealing, it would be very disappointing. Hopefully that helps. John, Himami Bishk Chaudhry, I hope I got that right, Himani. Right, let's have a look. Small black ants keep attacking my hibiscus growing in a pot. How do I keep them away? I've tried Eco Pest Oil and it helps temporarily only. It does. First thing you want to do, hibiscus is in a pot. So get some wetting agent, a liquid wetting agent in a watering can, and put the full 9 litres into that pot. So you're really soaking all the way through. It's more likely the ants are actually down in the root system with a small nest somewhere. That's the first thing. Ants on hibiscus can be quite problematic, and the reason is that they will bring scale in, and they will farm scale on the hibiscus, and hibiscus are quite susceptible to scale attacks. So you do have to get rid of them. Eco-pest oil will help a little bit, but the next best trick is probably an ant solution, and borax or one of those kind of ant treatments is something that you probably want to consider if the ants don't move when you put the wetting agent all through that soil. Kerry's from Rollystone. Rollystone is over here in Perth, up in the hills, cooler climate, gravelly soils, quite an interesting area, grows a lot of beautiful plants, and particularly roses do well up there. And a member of the rose family are the raspberries. Never sort of think of them the same, but they're actually all quite closely related. And Kerry's got a raspberry bush, and she's had it for about 18 months. It's never fruited last year, but there's new growth coming on it now. And that's really interesting, because it really should be going into a bit of, really ideally, going into dormancy. Now, the reason it's not doing that and it's trying to grow out now is because it's been really hot and dry. So it kind of went into dormancy during the summer to try and protect itself. Now there's rainfall and there's moisture in the air and humidity levels have gone up. It's trying to produce some growth. So we'll have a bit of a flush of growth. It might go right through June, and then it'll go dormant. The good thing about this is that the shock that's associated with this rapid changes in conditions tends to trigger pretty good flowering and fruiting, and that's going to occur in the springtime, Kerry. So don't cut your raspberries back. You let the plant produce its own fruit, and let's see how it goes in the spring. I'm sure you're going to be very happy with what you get. Jenny Ryan, some of my red robins have rust. That's a Photinia, and it's very more often than not used as a hedge, and rust would be very problematic on it. Now, I'm not sure what rusts you have, but I do think that you probably need to go and get yourself a proper rust fungicide and absolutely blast them with it. You need to get it under the foliage and over the top. And if you don't, if you've got a standard little sprayer, and these are quite big plants, one of the things that you can do is get one of those high pressure sprayers, pop it into a bucket and high pressure spray through that foliage. It's the only way really to treat really big, tall things, because you're never going to be able to get the proper application all the way through the plant. So sounds radical, and you need to make sure you cover up with a mask and make sure you protect yourself, but that should take care of the rust in your red robins. Jenny Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Sandra Vu, hello. Any advice on how to prepare my garden for storms? Some big gum trees, I'm worried they might break and end in disaster. You know what? I lost a huge gum tree at home just recently, and it's through dry stress through the summer, and then of course as soon as things get wet, there's all this extra weight sitting in the foliage. Come over in a strong breeze. It is really difficult, and I'm seeing a lot of branches dropping at the moment as well. You can get somebody in, an arborist, to have a look at your trees and prepare them, particularly with gum trees. If they see any branches that are heavily weighted, they might look at, say, pruning off some of the foliage off those trees and getting the tree back into shape. They'll let you know it's general health as well. Sandra, get an expert in, is my advice. Val is in Woodvale. Hello. Just wanted to show off my gigantic bird of paradise before I get rid of it. You do have a gigantic bird of paradise. That's the Strelitzia, the blue flowering one. I can see a blue flower actually on the plant as well. It's a really lovely plant. The downside to this one is that it does get very, very big. It's clustering, and it can take over. And when it's up against the side of a house or a carport area or whatever, you can suddenly lose ground because it starts to spread and take over. If you took that main big tall trunk out, those suckers at the base will come through, and for 4 or 5 years they'll look lush and tropical and do everything, and then you'll need to do the same. The downside to this is long term, it's going to crack that rock wall. It's probably going to damage pipes in around the pool. So my recommendation is that you actually get that particular plant out. Wrong plant in the right spot. You need to get a better, more compact form. And the traditional bird of paradise, Strelitzia reginae, is the one that you want to have in there. That would be perfect for that environment, but not Nicolai, which is this big one that you're seeing here. Jeanette Fenton in Glenorchy, Victoria. If raspberries and roses are related, should roses be kept at distance from strawberries due to blight? It's a good question, actually. And I don't think blight is something that affects roses. You definitely want to probably keep them apart just purely because the nutrient intake will be a very similar sort of requirement. But no, I don't think you do. I don't think you need to worry about blight with roses. So yeah, strawberries are, by the way, not related to raspberries, just so you know. Aruni J. Sekera. Hello, Aruni. I hope I got that right. My rose bushes in Ardros are not doing great. They've been watered through the hot summer months, but flowers look like they're dry and not pretty. What should I do? You've had this chili thrip in the flowers, Aruni. It's something that needs to be treated, but not now. The chili thrip's been killed off by cooler, colder weather. Doesn't like that excessive amounts of moisture. And really your roses are going to go dormant anyway, so it doesn't really matter. What I would do is I'd leave them for another month or two. I would then prune them. All the prunings take well away. Get rid of them because they will still have some eggs in there, and you'll get control of it. You need to spray it when you get into the warmer weather and new foliage starts to grow and flowers appear. And spraying, unfortunately, is a necessary evil with roses because thrips will spoil the flowers, which is what you're seeing. Sandra Oram, you're in central Queensland. What do you feed bower gerberas? Oh, bower gerberas, yes, they're beautiful. I've got lots of leaves but no flowers. Okay, flower promoting plant foods are the key. Definitely not high nitrogen plant foods. And I wouldn't bother with the organic ones. It's not really going to do anything. You want something that's got a really high P and K in that mix, and generally they're described as flower promoting. In the old days, I would have suggested that you try and get your hands on some Fostrogen, but it's not easy to get anymore. If you can find it, really good liquid fertilizer. Really good liquid fertilizer for promoting flowers, and that would help a lot with those bower gerberas. Annie Fox, bandicoots digging in my grass, love them, but any suggestions on how to stop them, deter them from digging? Look, they're digging because you've got grubs in the lawn, and when they run out of the grubs, they'll move on to the garden beds and they'll dig in there, and that's okay. They never do that much damage, and it won't hurt your lawn to get them in there and digging away and taking some of those grubs out, but at the same time also cultivating the grass a little bit. So that should help an awful lot. I tell you what, we have been going like crazy. Now, I did want to talk about avocado, right? So avocados are such an interesting fruit. You can see at a certain point in my garden, we had such extreme conditions, like in the high 40s, that the avocados actually got sunburnt when they were little, but they've recovered and they're growing out. And this particular tree, I thought it would drop a lot of its fruit, but it didn't. Last year, it probably had 50 fruit. This year, it's probably got 150. They're all probably about 2 months off. So my shepherd, which I think I showed you a week or two ago, if you're following us on Facebook, my shepherds, we've just picked them all, and they're fantastic. But this one was literally blown out of the tree. It's not really ready. It'll still ripen and it'll be fine to eat in a day's time. But avocados are so good for you. That's the thing with them. They really are an amazingly good fruit to have. And it's got something to do with the oils inside the fruit. Oh, there we go. You can see there's a little bit of burn on these leaves. They're going to drop all these leaves in the next month or so, so don't even worry about that if you've got that on yours. I'm looking at a lot of new growth flushing on my dwarf trees that are in half wine barrels, but on my big tree, it's really producing lots and lots of this fruit. This is a really good time, as soon as that fruit has been harvested, to trim your tree, to knock it into shape again. And don't be scared to prune avocados. They really do love it. It's really cool. That's my plant of the week. If you've got any avocado questions, then maybe you want to take a photograph of your avocado and send it through to us. We are going to wind up now. We've had a full-on hour. We've covered a lot of questions. We've got great audience. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. And please, again, do us one more sort of hit on the like button. It really does help spread the word of what we do. We're here to help you on a Friday. It's, of course, all thanks to our friends at Garden Express, who make a little bit of investment in us being able to come together and produce this and make it all happen. and we really appreciate their support. They don't just support us that way, they also give us a $50 gift voucher. And that gift voucher is going to go to John May today. Great question, John. Well done. Thanks very much. And I hope you enjoy a bit of online armchair garden shopping. Of course, remember, they will deliver it direct to your door, gardenexpress.com.au. Okay. Well, I should say, John, just send your private message. Us and Holly will sort that out with Rowan, who will sort it out for you. So that should be good. Now, we're going to take a break next week. I'm actually heading up north to do a little bit of filming in the Kimberley, and I will be back the following week, I promise, and we will do another session with you. It'll be a winter garden session, so it'll give you a lot of tips on what to do in your garden and keep it looking good. In the meantime, send us all your questions. Make sure you let me know your location, where you are in Australia. Weather conditions are changing dramatically now. It's actually drier in the north. It's cooler in the south. It's obviously a lot wetter now in the south, and everybody's about to get a dump of rain over the next week as this huge wet weather system moves from the west to the east. So enjoy that, get all that moisture into your garden, make sure it's soaking in. Start preparing the garden beds in the veggie patch for winter veggie planting. It's a good time to get those seeds in. You'll have things like peas and beans and all of those things that grow really well during the winter months, all the brassicas, your cauliflower, your kale, all of those things. So get the soil prepared, and in 2 weeks' time, I'll talk you through what you should be planting. We'll get some packet seeds and we'll put them up as prizes as well to help you do that. Now, we have one more episode of The Garden Gurus tomorrow on Channel 9 at 4:30. Make sure you tune in and check it out. We're just about done for the season, and it's a great episode. There's some really good stuff coming. Simon's doing some awesome stories at the moment, and I think you'll really enjoy it. If you, of course, want to know anything more from today's show or anything about gardening at all, best resource you will get is thegardengurus.tv. It's a fantastic resource as far as videos, fact sheets, links to gardening companies. It's got it all. It's really good. And if you want to look at any of the stories that we've produced, of course, you can do that via our YouTube channel, thegardengurus.tv as well. Whew, what a week. What a day. What a session. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Trevor Cochran. Big thanks to Holly, who's been driving the machine here again. She does a great job. I'm just going to let her finish off the rest of that yak on, and we will see you not next week, in 2 weeks' time for another great session of the Garden Gurus Live. See you then.
Bye. Oh, hold on. Holly should really do that.